done here.
You're not going to have
We're
time.
done.
Touch in out of time.
At least 10
Mr. Chair, she's out of time.
Time's
Restore
expired.
your
Out of
time.
order
My
and
time
out of
is
time.
expired.
Ms. Pressley, you've
You all
already
are very
secured your
unserious.
MSNBC spot tonight.
I'm
Your
not
time's
I'm
required.
looking for
Chair
accountability,
recognizes Ms.
and you
Mace
want to
from
run
gonna be
from the
so
South
good on
Carolina
MSNBC.
Chair
of your
recognizes
king
Ms. Mace.
and this administration.
Thank you, Mr.
Chair
Chairman.
recognizes.
In this case, Mr. Chairman, I'll yield back. Thank you.
Gentleman yields back. Chair recognizes Ms. Pressley from Massachusetts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me just begin by making this plain. Credible fraud must be investigated and prevented. Every dollar that is stolen from public programs is a dollar that is taken from a child who needs care, a senior who needs food, or a family that is already struggling to make ends meet. Ms. Robbins, I want to just begin with a basic question, and please answer yes or no. When someone is convicted of defrauding the public, do you believe that they should be held accountable?
Yes.
So if we're serious about fraud, then we also have to be serious about accountability. Ms. Robbins, do you mind just expounding, what does accountability look like to you?
We want to prosecute everyone who's committed a crime, and we want to fire officials in the agencies that are liable for allowing the failure of internal controls.
Okay, so Ms. Robbins, let me be more clear. What should happen to fraudsters who steal public dollars?
They should go to jail.
So in my opinion, accountability means restitution. It means consequences, like incarceration, that help ensure that it doesn't happen again, as a real deterrent and accountability. It means that money taken from families and the public is returned to them. But that is not the standard that is being set by Donald Trump, who is wielding his clemency authority to allow fraudsters to escape accountability altogether. Last month, my office published a clemency report titled Trump's Clemency Gap, How Trump's Pardons Are Ignoring the People Who Need Them the Most. I ask unanimous consent to enter this into the record. Thank you. Now to the witnesses who serve in the Minnesota State Legislature on the Fraud Prevention Committee, let's walk through these pardons for fraudsters, and we all care about fraud. So Ms. Robbins, Mr. Hudson, and Ms. Rarick, Donald Trump pardoned George Santos, who defrauded voters and owed them $370,000 in restitution to victims. Raise your hand if you oppose this pardon. Thank you, Mr. Ballou.
Ma'am, I would have to look at the law and the facts of the case. We cannot know the facts of all these individual cases.
Don't deflect. This is a very public case. You know who George Santos is. You know exactly what he did. We just agreed that, fraud is unacceptable. And you just talked about accountability. You said if people commit fraud and exploit the public good, that they should be incarcerated. So this is not a complicated question. So I will give you all one more opportunity. Ms. Robbins, Mr. Hudson, and Ms. Rarick, raise your hand if you oppose the pardon of George Santos.
Not playing this game.
It's not a game. It's real life. It's not a game at all. Okay, but I will take your refusal to go on record, not only as cowardice, but that you do agree with that pardon of that fraudster. Moving on, Donald Trump also gave, and this has never been done before, presidential pardons to corporations that committed fraud. One example is the crypto company BitMEX that violated U.S. law and was fined $100 million. Now raise your hand if you oppose Trump's pardon of this crypto company.
Not participating.
Thank you, Mr. Ballou. Okay, again, I'll take your refusal to raise your hand in opposition. That means that you support this pardon of this corporation that frauded folks to the tune of $100 million.
Refusal to participate is not an
reclaiming
expression.
Reclaiming my time.
To participate
You
is
know
not
the
an
rules of
expression
committee?
one way or
You
the
know
other.
the rules of committee? This is my
I know
time.
that I am
Do
here
not speak
as a
over
member
me.
of the public.
Reclaiming my time. You are
that
not,
you
Mr. Chair.
serve.
Mr. Chair.
That's what I know.
You are not in order with the rules of the committee. This is my time. This is my time.
That's
I
our
ask the
dollars.
questions and you answer, but you're too much of a coward to answer. So we're going to move on. Now, yesterday was a 5-year anniversary, and I want to note of the January 6th insurrection. And on Donald Trump's first day in office, he pardoned 1,500 insurrectionists, including Brian Christopher Mock, who's from Minnesota. Are y'all going to say you don't know who that is? He's from Minnesota. Now, he kicked, shoved, and threw a flagpole at police officers, law enforcement that you claim to support. And he did all of that in the name of fraud. He was an election denier. So an election fraud lie. Now, he claims he did these things in the name of patriotism, but really he's just a criminal. So raise your hand if you oppose Trump's pardon of this Minnesota individual.
Ma'am, this grandstanding nonsense
This is not grandstanding.
exactly
This is
what
accountability.
Minnesotans hate about D.C.
This is accountability, and you are hypocrites. So again, I will take your
Thanks for
refusal to
demonstrating
not
my opening
Mr. Chairman,
reclaiming
order,
my
decorum.
time.
She's off the
Reclaiming
rails.
my time. I'm not off the rails, please.
You are
Enough
totally
with your
off the
tropes.
rails.
Nancy,
Order.
enough with your
Rails.
tropes. Give me my time back.
Order, Mr. Chairman.
If Republicans
didn't
were
come here.
serious about
You
reclaiming
ordered
my
somebody
who was
time,
supposed to serve
me.
Restore
You
the
press
clock.
your time
Reclaiming
expired.
my
My
time.
constituents.
You have no time left.
Reclaiming
You're
Get to
overtime.
accuse me of things that you
Time's
can't.
expired.
You're out of
Order.
time.
Reclaiming my
You're out of
time.
time.
There's no time
You're out of
left.
time. We're done here.
You're
We're
out of
done.
time.
Touch in out of time.
At least 10
Mr.
seconds.
Chair, she's out of time.
Time's
Restore the
expired.
Out of
time.
order
My
and
time
out
is
of
Presley,
time.
Ms. Presley,
You
you've
all are
already
very
secured your
unserious.
MSNBC spot tonight.
I'm not
Now, your time's
I'm
required.
looking for
Chair
accountability,
recognizes Ms.
and you
Mace
want to
from
You're
run
gonna be
from the
so good on
hypocrisy
MSNBC.
Chair
of your
recognizes
king
Ms. Mace.
and this administration.
Thank you, Mr.
Chair
Chairman.
recognizes Ms.
And Mr.
Mace.
Chairman, I agree. She's
don't
going to be
care
a great
about
host on
hungry children. You wanna be
MSNBC.
cutting
This is
back.
my
I
time.
wouldn't want to jump in front of
reclaim
Ms.
my
Mace if I
time.
were you, Ms.
I
Presley.
reclaim my time. This is my time.
I wouldn't want to interrupt Ms. Mace. It's her time. Chair recognizes Ms. Oh,
Mr. Chair,
You are out of order.
she did not get all of her time.
Mr. Chairman,
She
she's
wants to
still out
insult
of
us for
order.
10 more seconds.
What do
your
we
time
have
is
to do
expired.
to get this
Chair-
woman in order?
Her time is expired. Chair recognizes
You're
Ms.
going to be great on
Mace.
TV. You're really good. No, baby, you're not. No, baby, you're not. You are not in order. You're out of order. Goodbye. You're done. Mr. Chairman, it's my
Chair
5
recognizes
minutes.
Ms. Mace.
Are we good here? Mr.
got it.
Chairman, thank you. As I listen to the witnesses answer questions today, I'm struck by the truly breathtaking amount of fraud, the scope and scale perpetrated against the American people by Somalians in Minnesota.
What DHS Secretary Kristi Noem over what Johnson describes as systemic abuses by immigration enforcement agencies and a fundamental breakdown of the rule of law. Rather than framing the issue as a partisan or ideological disagreement, Johnson grounds her argument in constitutional principles, legal standards, and first-hand observations, arguing that current enforcement practices are actively violating due process and civil rights. Johnson begins by addressing what she sees as an escalating climate of fear across the country. She explains that this fear is not limited to undocumented immigrants, but extends to lawful residents, American citizens, and even law enforcement officers themselves. According to Johnson, this atmosphere is driven by rhetoric coming from the highest levels of government and filtering downward into enforcement behavior. She warns that such fear is dangerous because it erodes trust, destabilizes communities, and increases tension between the public and law enforcement. At the center of Johnson's critique is Secretary Noem's claim that DHS is restoring the rule of law. Johnson flatly rejects this assertion and explains that the rule of law rests on two core pillars, probable cause and due process. She argues that neither is being consistently respected. Johnson states that individuals are being detained or arrested based solely on appearance, particularly skin color, without any individualized suspicion or evidence of wrongdoing. She emphasizes that this practice is incompatible with constitutional standards and cannot be justified under any legitimate interpretation of lawful enforcement. Johnson further explains that due process, the right to a fair hearing and legal protections before being deprived of liberty, is being routinely denied. She describes cases in which individuals are detained for days without hearings, access to legal review, or meaningful opportunities to challenge their detention. According to Johnson, these practices represent a severe departure from constitutional norms and threaten the legal protections that apply to everyone in the country, not just immigrants. To support her claims, Johnson cites her visit to an ICE detention facility outside Dallas. There, she observed that more than 70% of detainees were classified at the lowest threat level and had no criminal history whatsoever. This directly contradicts repeated claims by the administration that enforcement efforts are narrowly focused on serious criminals or national security threats. Johnson argues that these findings expose a gap between official rhetoric and operational reality. The script also highlights the human consequences of these policies. Johnson recounts multiple incidents in which American citizens were detained by ICE despite clearly identifying themselves as U.S. citizens. Some were allegedly assaulted, suffering broken ribs, brain injuries, and other physical harm. In one case, an elderly man was reportedly knocked to the ground after asserting his citizenship, only to be detained anyway. Johnson stresses that such actions represent an alarming disregard for both civil rights and basic human dignity. While Johnson acknowledges that many ICE and Border Patrol agents perform their duties professionally and lawfully, she draws attention to the existence of bad actors who exceed their authority. She argues that leadership has failed to adequately discipline or rein in these individuals. According to Johnson, the lack of accountability sends a dangerous message that misconduct will be tolerated or ignored, further eroding public trust. A recurring theme throughout the script is oversight. Johnson emphasizes that congressional concerns have been raised repeatedly through hearings and formal letters, many of which have gone unanswered. She frames this lack of response as an institutional failure that allows abuses to persist unchecked. Johnson argues that oversight is not anti-law enforcement, rather, it is essential to maintaining legitimacy, professionalism, and public confidence in policing institutions.